What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we want to have a bit of a conversation about this very important topic that stems from the brand new recent release of the Grim Forest content. Now, before we jump into that, I want to make sure that you guys get a hold of this promo code before it expires. I know it expires 1 week from when it was released, but just want to make sure that everybody gets it here. It's going to be Raid and Review 2025. Now, I already claimed this. It's a bit of energy. It's a 5-star chicken as well. Definitely can help you guys out. So make sure you guys grab it. I believe you guys have a couple more days to grab this. So make sure you guys do so. And yeah, let's jump into what I want to talk about in this video. And I think it's actually really, really important. It's a little bit of a thinking ahead video. As you guys know from this channel, we like to think ahead, but it's going to be based around this brand new content, the Grim Forest. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when this was released and we got a chance to test this on the test server, so I got my hands on this a couple of days before everybody else did. I really, really like this. I thought it was really good. I thought the difficulty level was actually very accessible for people. For me personally, I did not have any difficulties. And just from hearing from the other content creators talk about this, they had a very, very easy time. And I'm pretty sure that if we are having a very, very easy time, that just means that the content is going to be way more accessible to more and more people. And after this got released, I'm connected in very, different and many different channels of Raid. Basically, like, I'm everywhere. And I've been hearing nonstop about how great the Grim Forest content is, how easy it is, how good to get some rewards that are worthwhile, some higher end rewards, etc., etc. And it feels like, it's a good thing for most people, right? And if you can't handle hard difficulty, there is a even easier difficulty. There's a normal difficulty, and that's just going to include more and more people and encourage them to participate. That's a great thing about the brand new content. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was basically, like, when I saw the boss kits, I thought they were actually quite strong and overtuned. However, the way you can beat the bosses is basically just by generating stats as you just progress through the forest. So you guys don't need to encounter the bosses right away. They don't really roadblock you like they did in Doom Tower. So if you see a boss you can't handle, you just move on, and then you start grinding out higher stats as you clear more and more posts, which I thought was really interesting because it definitely makes you feel like your account is progressing in this content, the Grim Forest content, naturally, and it just feels like it's constantly progressing. So eventually you'll generate enough stats, you'll tackle the boss again, you might get a lucky shuffle, you might find a new strategy, you might swap out some champions from the vendor, for example. You can update your deck, and then take another crack at it, right? And then the other good thing is that you actually don't consume energy if you fail. So it encourages you to play around with your champion combinations, go back in, and then get a better result. So there's so much good stuff going on with the Grim Forest here. And like I said, it feels dynamic, it feels natural, the progression is there. There's also tons of stuff to do. Like, for example, it feels more customizable. Like, you do have decks. You have your champion deck, which is basically just a condensed roster. You take your roster, which could be large and overwhelming, and then you condense it into 20 or 40 champions, and then you just focus on those champions to help you get through the content. The other really good thing about this, and the way it kind of ties into like how it's more customizable, is that you can actually enhance your experience with these stat bonuses and these Cheerios, right? So basically you get some extra stats or effects along the way, which is really good, and it just has a more customizable feel. And obviously adding more stats also gives you a way to kind of fine tune your roster, whatever stats you're missing and all that. So these are huge wins that Plarium actually put into this new content area. And let's talk about the rewards here real quick, guys. Rewards are amazing. You get remnants, you get remnant fragments, you get mythical pieces of gear, you get 6-star mythical pieces of gear, you get mythical relic materials as well, and then of course you get fragments towards a free mythical champion. And this all feels very, very obtainable for a large bit of the player base, way more than any of the other content. Now, so far I've been singing my praises about Grim Forest. I think it's amazing. I think it's really fun, and for the most part, it doesn't take too much time, but it is a bit of a time sink. So that's one big negative here. So they have to kind of give some attention to how they want the player base to allocate their time. And they have to give us some time back, because Grim Forest, even though it could be very easy for people, it could be, people are saying, oh, it only takes like 15 minutes. That's not necessarily true, because some of the bosses do take a couple minutes. For example, if you're fighting the chest goblin, the goblin, where's that guy? I forgot his name. Fiadis, the Trove Master. Yeah, so if you're fighting the Trove Master, each one of these fights could be 5 or 10 minutes long, and then you could fail, and you have to do them over and over again. So this area, it does take time to go through, especially if you're like at the edge of your equipment level or roster level. It's going to take a little bit more time. So Plarium needs to address this by giving us some time back. So that's going to be the first big issue. Now, the next big issue kind of ties into this format being so good. So the Grim Forest is so good. The rewards are so good. It's so rewarding, and it's not necessarily that difficult. Now, why is this all bad? It makes the other areas in the game look terrible in comparison, guys. Terrible in comparison. We're talking about Chimera. The effort you have to put into Chimera to get a minor fraction, a baby percentage of the goodies that you get from the Grim Forest is actually insane. The flash chests that you get from Chimera are just horrible. These personal reward gemstones are horrible. So it doesn't really reward you in any way, and getting the relic materials requires a lot of trial and error, a lot of time investment, and it requires good gear and specific champions. So there's not a lot of ways for you to actually get a lot of rewards from the Chimera Clash. So it definitely feels very unbalanced compared to the Grim Forest, which kind of just gives you all this stuff for definitely not on the same difficulty level as doing Chimera Clash and top chesting and getting all the trials for Chimera. Another area where the difficulty scaling is very unbalanced relative to the rewards is actually Curse City. Curse City is basically just a more restrictive Grim Forest, right? There's less paths, so you're bottlenecked in certain ways. There's blessing restrictions. There's very obscure roster restrictions, whereas in the Grim Forest, you always bring into every level 40 champions potentially, and then you of course shuffle, right? But your net of your roster is way larger than Cintranos. And Cintranos is actually way more difficult because some of the waves are tuned to counter the restrictions that you are set in. So for example, if you are restricted to Force Affinity champions, you know those waves will have Spirit Affinity champions there to counter your Force Affinity champions. Now the rewards in Cintranos are great. You get Carnage, you get gear, you get Remnant summons, you get all of that stuff. You get high-end rewards as well, but the difficulty for completing Cintranos is on another level relative to the Grim Forest, and we're talking hard difficulty for both. So to me, it just doesn't feel balanced. Now for Plarium, actually, before I want to say what Plarium needs to do, I'm going to tell you guys about another very imbalanced area, and that's going to be Hard Faction Wars. Hard Faction Wars, very difficult content, of course. You're not getting a lot of rewards for it because you only get this kind of mission reward once, all these mission rewards once. You're not getting a lot. You're getting the materials, and you're getting the glyphs. Now the glyphs are the big thing, and of course the relic materials are the big thing. But the odds or the amount of mythical relic material that you get from doing this is, again, a tiny percentage of the effort required to basically clear these stages at the highest levels where you can actually get the mythical relics. So the barrier to entry for Hard Faction Wars is very high. The levels are very difficult if you don't have the right gear, the right roster, and the rewards are not there. So again, very imbalanced relative to the Grim Forest, where the Grim Forest is just offering you very similar stuff. They offer you better rewards, like for example, endgame rewards like essences, coins, soul stones, mythical books. Even one mythical book is there. Remnants, better gear. You just get more better stuff than just the chance of getting relic mythical materials, and of course the big glyphs, which don't always come anyways. So we highlighted 3 areas where there's a huge reward imbalance for your time: Hard Faction Wars, Cintranos, and Chimera. Now what does Plarium really need to do? Now they already released this content, this Grim Forest content. It's amazing. Like I said, this should be their benchmark standard for what they should be doing with the rest of the other formats and the rewards that they should be offering relative to time. So for Plarium, they don't like to nerf things because it creates community backlash, and that's great. That's great. Keep it that way. Keep buffing stuff, right? So here they need to buff. They need to buff those areas that are not in line with the Grim Forest in terms of effort and reward. huge thing that they need to buff is Chimera. Chimera right now, it's supposed to be a competitive format, and it's kind of a laughing stock because the way you do Chimera is you want to do trials, which give you the most rewards, but it's a competitive format where you win through damage. So you need damage, but at the same time, trials and damage don't always mix together. So sometimes you're forced to choose between doing trials or doing damage. So as a competitive format, it's probably best to align those two interests. How about we have like a clash format where you just, win through the total amount of trials that your clan can achieve. And if there is a tie, then the tiebreaker could be damage, for example, right? Then everybody will strive for the rewards and then strive to get more damage so that it becomes a competitive format. Right now, it's really kind of messed up, and there's not too much incentive to win Chimera Clash because the rewards are just not very rewarding after all, because the winning the chest doesn't really give you that much. The Grim Forest actually gives you mythical gems as well, which is taking some of Chimera's shine away, right? Because why would you do Chimera like painstakingly and then try to win clashes and all that when Grim Forest can offer you red gems as well? So just something to think about. I mean, for Plarium's standpoint, like they need to fix this kind of imbalance with the Chimera. Like, look at these rewards. Like, what was the point of this, right? So, and Chimera is a very restrictive, prohibitive format as well. There's only certain damage dealers that can make an impact here, and obviously the trials are not easy to do. You need endgame gear to do it at the highest level, for example. So the difficulty scaling, the effort scaling, the time scaling, just not on the same level as Grim Forest. Now that's great because they gave us Grim Forest, like I said, but Chimera definitely needs a long look. Now the other area, Cursed City. Cursed City is very interesting because, like I said, it's very rewarding in that it gives you great rewards, but the difficulty scaling is quite difficult. The only real suggestion I have here is just to make some of the restrictions a little bit more open so that they allow more people to participate. I like that they added some higher level basalts as rewards as well, so that does increase the attractiveness of Cintranos. But they can definitely make some improvements here. They released this content without making too many improvements. Same thing with the Chimera as well. Another thing they could do with Chimera is actually just improve how these personal reward gemstones are actually kind of laid out, right? Like you don't need 3 rare gemstones here. Why not give a legendary gemstone at the very end? Like that, you can get a legendary gemstone every week. That would be pretty nice, right? And make it worthwhile for you to go for that 8 billion personal reward. Like getting 3 of these rare ones doesn't make any sense. And then also instant keys. Instant keys could definitely make it way more easier. So then the time balance is there. Like if you're not spending a lot of time in Chimera, then your rewards are not going to be as good. That makes sense. But right now we have to spend lots of time in Chimera and our rewards are not good. So it's just not very balanced for Chimera, right? All right, so we spoke about Cintranos a little bit. I think the area is generally okay. It's a little bit more difficult than Grim Forest, but the rewards are at least good. Lastly, let's talk about faction wars here. How they can improve this. Now, they can definitely improve this by basically making some kind of guaranteed drop rate on the, the mythical format, the relics materials at the higher stages. What else they can do is basically also improve the chances of some of the higher glyphs. Just make the rewards slightly better. Another thing I was thinking about, if they feel like they want to extend this kind of faction wars idea a little bit further, is actually go into maybe something like beyond level 21 and have it be like 22 to 25, and then perhaps you can go into something like alliance wars. So this kind of makes it so that as long as you complete like 21 in one of the factions, you can enter like the alliance wars. And in the alliance wars, you can basically use any team from all 4 of the factions, because some people don't have very good champions in one of the factions and then they'll struggle forever until they pull something really nice. But in something like an alliance, it allows them to use the best champions from 4 factions and then handle that content. And then, of course, scale difficulty and then give them better rewards and stuff. I thought that would be a pretty cool idea, just to give a little bit more life to the faction wars content and make it a little bit more accessible for players that might be doing well in one faction, but struggle in a couple other factions. They shouldn't be penalized forever, right? So I think there's a lot of runway they can do with some of these rewards. Like for example, like here they could add like something like alliance wars, like I mentioned. They could even add like basically more trials to Chimera so that people can kind of like just hit random trials and then just get more relics. I think that would be kind of more interesting as well, because again, it's super restrictive. Having champions that specifically do a trials is not something easy for everybody to do. The other big issue I see with Grim Forest is that This content, it feels almost autopilot for the most part. A lot of the bosses, you can kind of ignore their mechanics for a lot of parts. I speak as a end game player, but I'm pretty sure as late game players that have tackled, for example, Lassoon, they probably just went in with just a bunch of random stuff and then they came out and won. So I think it's a little bit too easy. I think Plarium probably wanted this content to be, more fresh for a little bit longer. Obviously, if they've been working on this for a year and then suddenly, this content is conquered in a week or 2 weeks, I think they're definitely looking to extend the life of this content area a little bit more. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of free resources, which is great. This is great, right? Adding free resources in the game is awesome because things have been inflating, events have been inflating. There's so many events now, and things just cost more. So just having more resources is great. But I do feel the content, it does feel beaten already in the first month after release. And that is a little bit of a drag and a little bit of a concern. So what can they do with the Grim Forest? Like they can definitely add, beyond hard difficulty, brutal difficulty, nightmare difficulty, and then just make things harder, make it more restrictive, give better loot, of course, but then they have to balance the whole time thing. So are you expected to do normal, normal hard mode brutal like in a month, like basically 3 maps in a month? That's a little bit crazy. And same thing with Centranos, right? They can definitely start adding additional difficulties to Centranos as well, just to keep up, make things consistent. And also, how future proof is the Grim Forest right now? So, for example, this can be beaten with everything in the game currently available in the game. So that doesn't really give you much room to develop things outside of what the game currently offers you. So what I mean by that is, why would people chase very powerful synergies, very powerful champions, just because the current content in the game can be beaten by 2024 champions, 2023 champions? They don't really necessarily need to go above and beyond to get any of those champions. And from a Plarium perspective, this gives you the question, why would people spend money further, right? Are we just targeting arena? Are we just targeting like PvP whales, right? Basically people that need to chase the best meta arena champions to basically, compete in arena. But for PvE, there's just nothing really for people to really chase because the content can be achieved by what is already existing in the game. So I kind of feel like Plarium probably should put in a piece of content that kind of future proofs it a little bit, like make it a bit more difficult or very difficult so that people have an area that they need to kind of work towards instead of just entering the area and conquering it right away. So I do feel that's a slight negative with what the Grim Forest provides. Like I said, the resources are great. Everything is awesome about it. Getting easy resources is amazing for the player base in general. But I do worry about the other areas of the game that don't live up to the same level of time investment, reward, return as the Grim Forest. Those other areas just look terrible in comparison, and they definitely need a rework and a relook from Plarium. Otherwise, players might just neglect those areas, and then reduced overall engagement in this game ultimately just hurts the game in general. So I'm really looking out for the longevity of this game, and I think that they need to rebalance some of the older content and then make more difficult content so that we have something to strive for and keep ourselves engaged. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully it was informative for you guys. Just wanted to share my opinions on the brand new Grim Forest. Like I said, I completed this right away. My general strategy was to basically build stats and then just steamroll everybody, which was basically done. At this point, I'm just grinding the goblin for additional coins so that I can buy the big chest and all that stuff. And I'm still looking for the 2 charms for this big chest of rewards, which is amazing, by the way. We'll be jumping into normal difficulty as soon as this map's done. There's plenty of energy to uncover the entire map for both difficulties, so no reason to worry about that. But yeah, I love it. Like I said, easy, nice end game rewards and all that, and everybody's going to get their hands on it, which is amazing. But yeah, Plarium can't rest. There's definitely a lot they can improve across the entire game. Main thing is obviously time. They got to cut back some time from all this new content, and of course make the old content a little bit more rewarding for players so that they can remain engaged. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the all new Grim Forest content. Have you guys completed it? Are you guys enjoying it? I think a lot of people are enjoying it. And I think it's definitely worth your time to jump into and knock off the 30 energy every day. It's just a bunch of easy rewards, to be honest. You can just throw your best champions in and then do whatever you can. Don't neglect this area because it's just a bunch of free rewards. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Are agreeing with what I'm saying? Do you guys feel like this new content actually offers way better return on your investment, time investment, effort investment compared to the other areas? No doubtably it does, but do you guys see it as a good thing, as a bad thing? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Appreciate you guys watching until the end. Thank you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.